Hey Squadron, welcome to another video. For those who are new, my name is Omar. And for this Hangout session, I wanted to revisit a topic that I discussed back during a video I put out during the summer. And in that video, I was talking about how I wanted to do a series of videos exploring tarot. Namely, tips and strategies for those getting into tarot, how to read the cards, different things like that. So this is the first video in that series, picking the deck, because I feel like that is the hardest question that a lot of people have when it comes to getting into tarot, right? Because you want to make sure to pick the deck that's right for you. And believe me when I tell you, there are a ton to choose from, right? So many different themes, but I find that they can be broken down into two main categories, right? You have more of your Rider-Waite decks, which is the one that I'm currently shuffling over here, and then you have your Oracle decks. And I'm going to give a quick synopsis here. I will be doing like standalone videos, breaking them down further, but a Rider-Waite deck usually consists of around 78, I believe, 78 cards. If it's different, of course, feel free to correct me in the comments. But the main thing to know about a Rider-Waite deck is you have the major arcana and then you have the minor arcana. Okay? The major deals with major chapters in our lives, whereas the minor arcana deal with everyday things. And on the other side, you have Oracle decks. And Oracle decks tend to be around 52 cards. They don't have a set system that they follow. The system that they use is the one that is usually created by the person who makes the deck. Okay, so they get to decide what the cards mean and stuff like that. But I will say when it comes to Oracle decks, they are easier when it comes to channeling or intuiting your own meanings for them, whereas Rider-Waite decks tend to be more, I guess you could say, rigid, because they do tend to follow the rules of every Rider-Waite deck. And there are some that are exceptions, like Crystal Visions, because it does have a bonus card in it that is not found in other Rider-Waite decks. The bonus card being the unknown card. Okay? All right, so there you go. That's the major difference between decks. You have the Rider-Waite, and then you have the Oracle decks. When I was starting out, which was probably around 2019, 2020, back then, I didn't even want to touch a deck, right? I wasn't interested in being a tarot reader. But during that time, I would have like bi-monthly like Reiki shares, bi-weekly Reiki shares that I would host out of my apartment. And in one of those shares, my brother, who would come to these shares, he shared with me this tarot reader that he discovered and was following on YouTube. At the time, they went by Water Baby Tarot. Now their channel is been rebranded as Balmy Spirit. And I will be putting the channel down in the description for those who want to go and check them out. They are an awesome tarot reader. They're an awesome tarot reader and channeler. So please do go and watch at least one of their videos. Okay? But yes. So I went to, for the sake of not confusing people, I'm going to use their new channel name because I feel like it's going to be confusing going back and forth between Water Baby and... Anyway, so went to Balmy Spirit, watched some of their videos, and I loved the messages that I was hearing for my signs. I was reading for my big three, so Sun, Rising, and Moon. Okay? But after a while of watching her videos, it just did not feel like enough. I was feeling this pull that I needed something deeper. And at first I thought the deeper was, oh, card came out. 3 of Cups. I thought that it meant that I needed to get my own personal tarot reading, but then after examining the energy further, I realized, no, I was actually being called to work with a tarot deck myself, which was very interesting because, like I said, before that point, I had no interest in either touching a deck, let alone becoming a reader. And that brought up a lot of anxiety in me, right? Like which deck was right for me. There were so many options, blah, 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 blah. Now, the great thing about going and watching Balmy Spirit's videos, she listed all the decks and where she got the decks in the description of every video that she puts out. So if she got it from Amazon, she would have the Amazon link. If she got it from Etsy, she would have the Etsy link, and so on, giving me the chance to go through each of the decks and seeing them and kind of going with my gut instinct, right? Which decks called out to me, whether it was the imagery, the theme, like something about that particular deck. And in doing so, I was able to compile a list of, I would say, roughly around like 6 to 7 decks that really spoke to me, right? So then from there, because I had the links, I would then go to Amazon, Etsy, so forth, and see what the reviews of these decks were. And the reviews helped me out a lot because they were usually, ooh, we got some resistance there. They were usually other tarot readers who were giving their honest take of working with the deck. So people would say things like, oh, the deck is great for tarot readers of any caliber, whether you're advanced or just starting out, it's a great deck. To the other end, like, no, this deck can be very temperamental, so steer clear of it unless you're an intermediate to advanced tarot reader, right? And that kind of helped me to organize the decks that I was more so leaning to because, again, I'm just starting out versus the ones where I'm like, maybe further on down the line. But in the top 3 was always Crystal Visions. And that was funny because it was one of the decks that people generally said they had a more difficult time working with. And yet it was calling to me. Okay? So after, like I said, picking my list, going through and reading reviews, the next step I did was go to YouTube. And on YouTube, I would watch unboxing and review videos. And the reason why I did this was because I wanted to see how the cards would come, right? Like, would they just come by themselves or would they come with bonuses, right? So obviously, I was expecting them to come with a manual breaking down what the cards meant. But in some cases, you could also get cloth, tarot cloth, or kind of like placemats so that you can do your spreads on. In some cases, you could also get little like satchels or bags to rest your tarot decks in. And these are things too that you want to be on the lookout because if it's important to you, right, to get a placemat or cloth or to get a bag or a satchel for your decks to be in, there are decks that come with those. Just know they tend to be more than the decks that don't come with those fringes, right? So the decks that are cheaper usually are the ones that come with just the deck and the manual for how to use said deck, okay? All right, so I'm watching these unboxing videos, and Crystal Vision is one that was on the cheaper end. I believe during the time I was able to get this deck for like around $12, $13. Again, this was back in like 2019, 2020. But yes, and it came with the deck, and it also came with a book. So in the book, it does break down. I don't know how well you're going to be able to... I mean, yeah. As you can see, it has a breakdown from the 3 of Cups, right? 4 of Cups, 5 of Cups. So every card that's in the deck is also in this book. And then it's been a while, so I'm like trying to see if there's anything else in here. Yeah, I think with this particular deck book, it did not come with like actual, oh, no, it did. So at the very back, it has reading with the cards, and then it has a couple, well, it has one sample spread that you can do, and then blank pages so that you can take notes down with. All right? And after watching the unboxing videos and the review videos, again, people saying like, it was a mixed bag, right, with Crystal Vision. Some people loved it. Some people were like, it's not my favorite deck, but it's not a bad deck. I still felt drawn to it. And what can I say? If you feel drawn to something, even if people are telling you it's difficult, it's hard, remember, you are going to be the tarot reader. So if something is coming out to you, if an item is calling out to you, that is usually an A-OK from your spirit team that you're meant to work with it. But if you need other clarification, tongue tie, feel free, right? I wanted to say don't be scared, but also don't be scared. But feel free to ask your spirit team to send you like a yes or no on whether to get a spiritual item. And also specify what the yes or no is, right? Okay. So I bit the bullet, went to Amazon, and purchased the deck. So when I first got the deck, I was, of course, obviously nervous. I was learning the cards because at the time, who was I to know that, we got more cards that came out. Eight of Pentacles in reverse, and the Hierophant upright. So I was very nervous at the time because I didn't know the difference between what was a major arcana, what was a minor arcana, what it meant for a card to be upright and what it meant for a card to be in reverse. It was still very new to me. Was I going to be someone who shuffled the cards and let the cards come out? Or was I going to be someone who just fanned the cards out in front of me, closed my eyes, and just drifted my hands over until I picked out the cards that felt right for me? Or just shuffled and picked right off of the very top of the deck, right? Because there's so many ways to do it. Was I going to do an already established tarot spread, or was I going to freestyle it and come up with my own way of how I wanted to set the cards and ask the questions and everything like that? It was very overwhelming in the beginning. And then to make matters even more complicated, when you get a tarot deck, what tends to happen? People ask you for readings. That really triggered my ego, right? Because I'm like, oh wait, I'm new to this, and I don't want to give someone a bad reading. I don't want to tell somebody that a card means something and that's not what it means, or miss a message and sign. I was very anal in the beginning, right? I was well over the top when it came to the readings I gave. I was super critical of myself, not trusting my intuition, right? Which that's the first mistake. If you're going to be a tarot reader, you need to be able to trust your intuition, right? Yes, it's nice to have the book or to go online and have people tell you what a card means. But look, I'm going to let you in on a secret. Knowing what a card means is different than knowing what a card means in a reading for a person and the particular question that they are going to ask you, right? So yes, you can sit here and be like, oh yeah, Three of Cups. It deals with friendship and celebration and family and good times and all of that. And people are like, okay, great, but what does this have to do with a career reading? Like, I'm asking, should I stay at my job or should I leave? And it's like, oh, you got the Three of Cups upright? Yay! Like, see what I mean? So knowing what each card means only takes you so far. Your intuition is going to help you to infer and to get the understanding to interpret what the card actually means in relation to the question that's being asked. The other card came out. The Fool. Having the faith. Fool. Blind faith. I love that. As I'm talking about faith and intuition, and then we got the Fool out here upright. love that. And that's what happened, right? I started getting more and more out of my head, stopping ego from tearing me down and having me doubt myself, and really sitting in myself, working with the cards, trusting what came out, also trusting and working with my spirit team more, working with the spirit team of my clients, right? The people that were asking me to do tarot readings, by learning how to invite them into the environment, and trusting that the cards that came out were the ones that were meant to come out. And also having discernment, right? Discerning like when a card would come out to be acknowledged, but didn't need to stay out on the board, versus a card or cards that needed to stay out for the reading. Okay? But I'm saying all of this came back to the deck. And to this day, I love Crystal Visions. It is one of my main decks that I work with when it comes to readings for clients. Also, you've probably seen it be used here. If you've seen any of my new moon or full moon readings I've done, I even have done some birthday readings, and you will see Crystal Visions pop up in that one, okay? And I've loved it so much that I bought accessories for it. So like I said, it came with a booklet, and it was nice, but eventually I went back and discovered that the person who created this deck did come out with a more expansive guide. Ooh, you know I had to have it, right? When I found out that there was a guide, I had to have it, especially considering that the guide does have a lot more information than could be obviously put in this little book, and it does have even more spreads that you can do with the deck. You gotta love that. Like, come on now. Absolutely. Another thing that I got was a bag. Got a nice purple. I don't know if it's going to show up too well on here. It's purple. It's like a dark purple. But yes, I got a little velvet deep purple satchel bag. This was actually bought for me. Yes, this was bought for me by a fellow Reiki master. So, Roger, thank you for this. I still use it to this day to keep my deck safe. And the reason why you want to put your deck in a satchel or a bag is because that way it keeps external energies from seeping into and affecting your decks when your decks are not in use. Okay, so if you don't keep the original box that the decks come in, you're definitely going to want to invest in bags like fabric bags to protect them if you don't buy a deck that comes with one. All right. But yes, I think that is going to do it for this video. So just rounding up everything that I said. Number one, use your intuition, your gut instinct to help you to come up with a list of decks that really call out to you. And be aware that this might mean that the decks will be Rider-Waite, or they may be Oracle decks, okay? And if you're confused on which one to do, next step, go to Amazon and Etsy and look through the decks, right? Look through the imagery, the themes, right? Read the author's descriptions of what the deck meant for them, their creative process. Really get into the energy of the deck. Another thing, going to YouTube and watching unboxing videos and review videos to see how the cards work, right? Especially if you're someone who has bigger hands, you might not want to work with a small deck. If you're someone that has small hands, you may not want to work with a giant deck. And last but certainly not least, it doesn't hurt to visualize, right? You can visualize yourself working with the deck. How would you do it? How would you do spreads? How would you let cards come out? Or how would you pick decks, right? Really get into the energy in your visualization meditation when it comes to the decks. And of course, be kind to yourself, okay? The deck that's right for you will stand out. You don't have to stress out on picking the right deck because the deck will pick you just as much as you will pick the deck. All right. Now, of course, if you have any additional advice on the deck picking process, especially for those who are watching this video and you already have a couple of decks and you have some tips that I did not include in this, feel free to write them down in the comments to help other people who will be finding this video. I appreciate that. And also, I may learn some new research methods myself, so I can benefit from it as well. If you've enjoyed this video and you're comfortable with donating, my PayPal link is in the description, and it helps me with equipment and decks and everything else so that I can keep putting out quality content. If you can't, I completely understand, and you can do free things like liking and sharing and subscribing because it really does help me to beat the algorithm and get my videos to other people, all right? And until we meet again, I am wishing you the best on your healing journey so that you may discover and embrace your true self. Namaste.